The village of Umudike thought they were washing away a curse when they threw the moon-skinned child into the river. But as the water touched his skin, the sun died in the sky, and a roar from the ancestors shook the very earth they stood upon. They wanted a sacrifice to find peace, but they didn't realize they were killing the only thing keeping the great darkness at bay. Before we see the bargain that led to this moment, welcome to our circle. If you remember the stories your grandmothers told under the moonlight, subscribe and join our community. Tell me in the comments, which village or city are you representing today? Our story begins in a land of red dust and long shadows. The air smells of roasting yam mixed with the sharp, metallic scent of an approaching storm. Neka sits motionless by a cold hearth, the dirt settling on her feet like a heavy blanket. For Neka, silence is the loudest sound in her home. Her womb has been a graveyard. 7 children were lost to the soil before they could take their first breath. In her village, a woman without a child is like a tree that refuses to fruit, blamed, whispered about, and left to wither. But Neka's heart is not withered. It is desperate. To change her fate, she is about to do the unthinkable. Neka's husband, Okoro, was once the greatest hunter in Umudike. His arms were as thick as tree trunks, and his house was always full of meat and laughter. But tragedy has a way of draining the strength from even the strongest man. Now, he sits in the shadows of their hut, staring at his empty hands as if he is trying to read a map of his own failures. When the neighbors come by with bowls of steaming pounded yam and agouti soup, he turns his head away. Their pity is a meal he cannot swallow. To Okoro, every bite of food feels like a betrayal of the 7 small voices that never got to cry. In the village square, the air is thick with poisonous whispers. The elders sit on their wooden stools, shaking their heads as Neka passes by. They call her a husband eater. They say she carries a bad spirit that scares away the ancestors. In a small village, words can be sharper than any hunter's knife. This social shame is not just a feeling, it is a physical weight that bows Neka's shoulders and makes the walk to the stream feel like a climb up a mountain. She sees the other women pulling their children away when she walks past, as if her grief is a sickness they might catch. Neka watches her husband waste away, and she feels the eyes of the village burning into her back. The data of her life is clear. If she does nothing, she will lose her husband, just as she lost her children. She realizes that the normal path has led her only to the graveyard. The earth has swallowed her joy 7 times, and she decides with a cold and steady heart that it will not happen an 8th time. She will no longer wait for a blessing that never comes. She decides to take control of her destiny, even if it means stepping into the world of shadows where no one else dares to go. When you reach the end of your rope, you often find yourself walking paths that others are too afraid to touch. That is exactly what Neka does. She leaves the safety of her hut while the village is asleep, moving toward the forest of the quiet ones. This is a place where the trees grow so thick, they seem to hold their breath. In nature, sound is a sign of life, but here, the birds do not sing and the crickets do not chirp. It is a dead zone, a place where the normal rules of the world no longer apply. Neka pushes deeper into the bush, heading toward the cave of the echoing water. The trail is gone, swallowed by thick vines and sharp thorns. As she crawls through the brush, the thorns tear at her clothes and scratch her skin, but she does not slow down. When you are focused on a goal that means everything to you, your brain actually turns down the volume on physical pain. Neka doesn't feel the sting because her heart is already hurting much worse than her skin ever could. She moves with the steady focus of a person who has nothing left to lose. Finally, she reaches the heart of the cave. In the center lies a deep, still pool of water. Usually, water acts like a mirror, reflecting the light of the moon or the glow of a torch. But this water is different. It is as black as ink and perfectly flat. Even though the moon is high in the sky, the pool does not reflect its light. It is like looking into a hole in the universe.
Neka stands at the edge of this darkness, knowing that to get the result she wants, she must speak to the forces that live where the light cannot reach. She has reached the threshold, the point of no return, where the desperate meet the dangerous.
The stillness of the pool finally breaks, not with a splash, but with a slow ripple that spreads like oil. From the center of the black water, a voice rises. It does not sound like a human voice. It sounds like heavy stones grinding together deep underground. The voice asks her why she has come to disturb the peace of the unborn. Before Neka can answer, a shimmering, pale figure emerges from the water. This is the spirit of the silver mist. The figure glows with a soft, cold light, like the glow of a firefly or the moon on a frosty night. Neka finds her voice and speaks her truth plainly. She wants a child that stays. She wants a son who will not return to the soil. The spirit watches her with eyes that see through her skin and into her soul. Finally, the spirit speaks again, agreeing to grant her wish. He tells her she will have a son, and this boy will be the light of the people. But in nature and in spirit, every gain has a cost. There is no such thing as a free gift when you are dealing with the supernatural. The spirit delivers 2 rules that Neka must follow to keep her son alive. The first rule seems easy. The boy must never be touched by the blood of a goat. In a village of farmers, this requires care, but it is manageable. The second rule is the real danger, the time bomb hidden in the contract. The spirit warns that the boy must never be seen by the village elders during a solar eclipse. If the light of the sun is blocked and the elders look upon him, the debt of light will be reclaimed instantly. Neka does not stop to ask what reclaimed means. She does not weigh the risks or look for the hidden catches in the spirit's words. When you have been starving for a long time, you don't check the food for poison. You just eat. Blinded by the bright promise of a living, breathing child, she agrees to every term. The spirit vanishes into the mist, and the cave goes silent. As Neka walks back toward the village, she feels a strange warmth in her body for the first time in years. The bargain is struck, the data is set, and the countdown has begun. When the child finally arrives, he is unlike any baby Umudike has ever seen. His skin is not the color of the rich red earth, but as white as polished ivory. His eyes are the color of pale honey, glowing with a soft light that seems to come from inside him. He is stunningly beautiful, but in a small village where everyone looks the same, being different is a dangerous thing. The people are shocked. They gather at the doorway, whispering and pointing, trying to understand how a woman of the soil could birth a child of the moon. Neka knows that her miracle is fragile. She remembers the spirit's warning and the debt of light. To protect her son, whom she names Chidi, she must become his shield. She tells the villagers that the boy has a rare sun sickness that makes his skin blister if it touches the daylight. It is a clever lie, a way to explain why he must stay hidden behind the thick mud walls of their hut. Like a scientist protecting a delicate experiment, she controls every part of his environment. She keeps him indoors during the heat of the day, only allowing him to breathe the fresh air when the sun has gone down and the shadows are long. However, keeping a secret of this size comes with a very high price. Isolation is the tax Neka pays for her son's life. She stops going to the market to gossip with the other women. She skips the festivals and the communal dances. By trying to keep Chidi safe from the elders' suspicion, she cuts herself off from the heartbeat of the village. She lives in a world of 2, trapped in a house of shadows to protect a boy made of light. The villagers, who once pitied her for being childless, now watch her with a new kind of fear. They see the closed door and the silent house, and they begin to wonder what kind of light truly lives in the dark. Years pass by like the steady flow of a river, and Chidi grows from a pale infant into a tall, graceful boy. As he grows, it becomes clear that the spirit's promise was true. He is indeed a blessing to the land. Even though he stays hidden during the day, a strange energy follows him. Wherever Chidi walks at night, the earth seems to wake up. In the morning, the yams in Neka's garden are twice as big as anyone else, and the corn grows so high it touches the roof. It is a biological miracle that the village cannot ignore. While other families struggle with dry soil, Neka's household is overflowing with food. But success often attracts eyes that do not wish you well. Ogwu, the village priest, is a man whose heart has become bitter, like an unwashed kola nut. He has spent his life studying the old ways, and he feels that Neka is hiding something that belongs to the spirits, not to her. He doesn't see a miracle, he sees a threat to his own power. Ogwu begins to watch Neka's house from the long shadows of the forest. He is like a hunter tracking a prey, looking for the tiny cracks in her story that will prove his suspicions. The data he collects begins to form a dangerous picture. Ogwu notices that while other children play in the dust under the noon sun, Chidi is never among them. He sees that Chidi never enters the marketplace, the center of village life. Most importantly, he watches Neka during the new moon. He sees her standing outside, blowing fine silver dust into the wind, and whispering words that are not in the language of their people. To Ogwu, these rituals are proof of a dark bargain. He doesn't understand the love of a mother trying to protect her child. He only understands that she has a power he does not. He begins to whisper to the other elders, planting seeds of doubt that are far more dangerous than any drought. Neka feels safe because her son is healthy, but she is forgetting a basic rule of life. The taller the crop grows, the more people want to cut it down. As Chidi becomes a young man, he discovers a force even more powerful than his mother's rules: love. He meets Adana, the daughter of the chief, during the soft hours of dusk when the sun has dipped below the trees. Adana is a girl with a heart as wide as the savannah. While the rest of the village looks at Chidi's ivory skin with fear or confusion, Adana looks into his honey-colored eyes and sees a gentle soul. She does not see a curse or a ghost. She sees a boy who likes to laugh and who knows the names of all the stars. They meet by the river, where the water reflects the purple sky, and they share a bond that feels as natural as breathing. However, love always seeks the light, and Adana is tired of the shadows. She wants a public wedding, with the sound of drums and the dancing of the whole village. She wants to stand by Chidi's side in the village square and show everyone that he is a man worthy of respect. But when Chidi brings this wish home, Neka's heart turns to ice. She knows the village laws. To marry the chief's daughter, a young man must go through a ritual of initiation. This ritual involves being washed in the blood of a goat and standing before the elders from sunrise to sunset to prove his endurance. Neka forbids the marriage with a voice that leaves no room for argument. She knows that the first drop of goat blood or the first touch of the midday sun would be the end of her son. But Chidi is no longer a child who can be hidden behind a mud wall. He is a man who wants to live, not just survive. He feels like a bird in a cage, watching the sky while his mother holds the key. The tension between Neka's protective fear and Chidi's desire for a normal life reaches a breaking point. Like a dam holding back too much water, the pressure is building, and Neka realizes that her son might choose a moment of happiness over a lifetime of safety. In her effort to save him from the world, she is slowly losing him to his own heart. Ogwu, the bitter priest, knows that fear is a tool. Just like a spark can start a fire in a dry field, a well-placed lie can burn down a whole community. When the seasonal rains are late and the air remains hot and dusty, Ogwu sees his chance. He gathers the villagers and points his bony finger toward Neka's house. He tells them that the earth is thirsty because of the foreign blood living among them. He whispers to the chief that Chidi is not a human boy at all, but an Ogbanje, a spirit child who has come to trick them and steal their luck. Ogwu has been watching the sky and reading the signs that only the learned can see. He knows that a solar eclipse is coming, a rare day when the moon will swallow the sun. To the priest, this is the perfect data point to complete his plan. He tells the village that the darkness in the sky is a sign of the gods' anger. He claims that the only way to bring back the rain and satisfy the ancestors is to purify the white boy.
He argues that Chidi must be taken to the river at the very moment the sky turns black to wash away the curse he has brought upon Umudike. The chief, torn between his love for his daughter and his duty to his starving people, finally listens to the priest's dark advice. Agwu doesn't tell them the whole truth. He gives them just enough information to make them desperate. He waits for the morning when the birds stop singing and the air turns a strange, bruised purple. As the edge of the moon touches the sun, Agwu leads a mob toward Neka's door. They carry ropes and torches, their faces set in hard lines of fear. Inside, Neka hears the heavy footsteps and the angry voices. She looks at her son, the boy of light, and realizes that the time bomb the spirit warned her about is seconds away from exploding. The priest stands at the front, holding the power of a lie that is about to change everything. The dread is no longer a whisper, it is a roar at the gate.
The elders burst into the hut and drag Chidi toward the river just as the moon begins its final march across the face of the sun. The sky turns a ghostly gray, and the air grows cold enough to make one's breath mist. Neka runs after them, her voice cracking as she screams the secret she has kept for years, that her son is a gift from the spirit of the mist, and to touch him now would be their undoing. But her words are lost in the wind. As the elders reach the muddy bank and cast Chidi into the swirling water, the sun vanishes completely. The world is plunged into a darkness so thick it feels like charcoal. Chidi does not sink, and he does not drown. The moment his ivory skin touches the water during the black sun, the debt of light is called in. Instead of a splash, there is a sound like 1,000 crystal bells shattering at once. Chidi's body begins to glow with a heatless fire, and he dissolves into a pillar of pure, blinding white light. This beam of energy shoots upward, piercing through the black sky and tearing through the clouds until it disappears into the heavens. For a heartbeat, the village is brighter than it has ever been. And then, everything goes silent and pitch black. The aftermath is a hard lesson in the cost of ignorance. The sun does not return the next morning, or the next. The village of Umudike is left in a supernatural darkness that lasts for 3 full days. When the natural light finally returns, the village discovers what they have lost. Chidi is gone forever, and the great river that once fed their crops has dried up completely, leaving behind nothing but a valley of bitter white salt. The consequences hit those who led the charge the hardest. Agwu, the priest who used his eyes to spy and hate, is struck blind. He can no longer see the world he tried to control. Neka is found sitting alone by the dry riverbed, her hair turned white from grief. In her hand, she holds a single white feather, the only physical data left of the miracle she tried to protect. The villagers realized too late that they had sacrificed their only source of life. They wanted to kill a curse, but they ended up throwing away their salvation. Now, they must learn to live in the long, dry shadow of the light they chose to destroy. Remember, when we act out of fear instead of understanding, we often lose the very blessings we were praying for.